Alright, it's a beautiful afternoon in the middle of a shopping area. So that's why, like, you can see people just walking around, just chilling here. And it's a weekday, so that's the reason why there's not that many people out right now. But other than that, though, it's like, yeah, pretty much, life is just like this. What you see is what you see. It's the real deal. Not that green screen bullshit. And yeah, we can all just come out. Don't have to worry about wearing masks. Besides, like, going on the subway or taking the bus. But other than that, though, I mean, just, yeah, so all the salty, butthurt Westerners who are still stuck inside, back in the West, you guys can suck it. Like, life is good now. So, yeah, that's all I gotta say for this one. Cue the intro. Alright, what up, ladies and gents? It's your boy Yushin. Hope you guys are having a good day. I'm certainly having a good day right now. It's a beautiful afternoon in mid-October. The weather is getting cooler now. It's about like 18 degrees outside. So, it's a good time to come out and, take a walk when you got some free time. So right now I'm currently in my little private sanctuary. Well, even though it's not really private, it's like a wooded area on the school grounds. But I just kind of call it my own little sanctuary because no one really comes here. It's deserted for the most part, so that's why it's a good place to, come and take a walk if you got some time. And also, especially for me, because I'm interested in archery, like I got some targets set up. So you guys can see right there, I got this just abandoned seat that's lying around with, as you can see, like arrows punctured through it, because I've just been spending the last half an hour or so practicing archery. So as for what kind of bow I use to practice archery right now, I'll show you guys. So I got like laid down right here. This is the bow I'm using. It's a traditional style recurve bow. It's basically just like made of two pieces of wood laminated together. You've got red thread to tie the leather covering onto the wood, and you've got more basically I'm not exactly sure what this material is, but you've got something that's like wrapped over the wood, and then you've got more thread to tie it together, and then you've got yeah, this right here, like thick rope to pretty much cover towards the edge. And as you can see, it's made of wood. It's painted black, and then you've got horsehair string. So according to the supplier, like the string is actual authentic horsehair, so I'll take his word for it. But in any case, it's a very reliable supplier. Like, I've been buying a lot of stuff from him. I've bought bows from him previously. His bows are very good quality. This one is a 30-pound draw weight, so he offers different draw weights, and also yeah, other like archery related materials as well, all kind of traditional style. So for example, like for people who practice the traditional like Asian style, like Mongolian, Korean style archery, where you use your thumb to draw the bow, the guy provides like thumb pieces that are kind of like this. Focus please. Sorry, just give me 1 second. It's a little bit blurry. But okay, yeah, anyways, so okay, yeah, there we go. So yeah, as you can see, he provides like leather thumb pieces, archery gloves to, if you prefer like the Western style of using your index and middle finger to draw back the string. So, pretty cool stuff. Definitely should check people who are living in China and interested in getting into archery with traditional bows and so on. You guys should definitely check this guy out. If you want, I can leave his Taobao store in the link. And yeah, very reliable seller, very good quality bows, guaranteed. But yeah, besides like the little free advertising I gave the guy, that's not what the point of this video is about. The point for today's video is continuing on with the second part about this little short series I'm trying to do called Realities of Life in China, where I talk about some realities of, you know, life living in China, some like social aspects of it that are usually not really discussed about among other on other YouTube channels and other, like, you know, social media influencers and so on. So the topic today that we are talking about is understanding Chinese sarcasm, and just in general, you know, does sarcasm actually exist in China? So the first, to make it very brief, yes, sarcasm does exist in China, but the way it works is a little bit different than what you probably be used to in the West. So for example, like whenever you see people on an English language website making sarcastic jokes, usually they're making references to something that's very popular in Western pop culture. So for example, it could be like, you know, a popular movie, so people could use, like, let's say quotes from The Godfather, from Star Wars, etc. Like people would say, oh, I will make you an offer you can't refuse, or they'll basically take one of those like really popular quotes and kind of, like, you know, rephrase it in a way that fits the joke they're trying to make. But for Chinese sarcasm, it kind of works in the way that's relevant to, you know, Chinese pop culture and Chinese society. So if you really want to actually understand, you know, sarcastic jokes and also those kinds of references that people will say in Chinese, basically you definitely have to have a reasonable command of the Chinese language. And also you definitely do need to know some, you know, Chinese pop culture references. So, like, you know, popular TV shows, movies, music, that kind of thing, to really kind of like understand those sarcastic jokes that people in China will say when they actually do make those jokes. And not even movies, but also like other things that are kind of relevant to Chinese society. So for example, you know, a lot of young men in Chinese society feel a lot of pressure to you know, work hard, save money, buy a house, get married early, have children, continue the family line, and pretty much like do other stuff for their family. So oftentimes you might see some young people making sarcastic jokes that are related to family life or related to like the social pressures of saving money and buying houses and that kind of thing. Or it can also be about other linguistic concepts. So for people who don't live in China, or maybe have only been in China for a very short time, basically how China works linguistically is that pretty much every single city and even every single every single province and even every single city actually has like their own language. So we would just call them local dialects. In Chinese we would just say, like, you know, the name of the province or the name of the city, and then hua, meaning, like, you know, the speech. So for example, people who live in Sichuan province, they will speak like a dialect that they call Sichuan Hua, you know, Sichuan dialect. And then, you know, people who live in Shanghai, they'll say like, oh, these people speak Shanghai Hua, Fujian Hua, that kind of thing. So to give you guys an example of like a sarcastic joke that's related to local dialects, sometimes when people make sarcastic jokes about local dialects, they'll usually use words that sound similar to standard Mandarin in the local dialect, and then they'll say, oh, you know, I was speaking my local dialect, I wasn't actually speaking Mandarin. So for example, one time I was watching this comedy show where these two guys were talking about, like, you know, funny things related to the local dialects in their hometown. So one of the guys asked his partner to give him an example of what his hometown's local dialect sounded like. So the second guy, he started speaking in his hometown's local dialect, and then he started at first using words that were different from Mandarin. So the guy who asked him to speak his hometown language didn't really understand what he was saying. And then afterwards, the second guy who was speaking his hometown's local dialect, he suddenly started switching to words that sounded similar to, you know, words that people who speak Mandarin would use. And then afterwards, the first guy was saying like, "Oh, really?" And then the second guy basically replied, no, not really. I was actually speaking my local hometown language. I wasn't speaking Mandarin. So obviously it's a little bit funnier if you actually understand what they were saying. But that was just kind of like a rough translation of the idea. It's like, you know, sometimes people will joke with each other by using words in their local dialect that sound similar to Mandarin Chinese, so that sometimes people who don't really understand the dialect will have trouble trying to differentiate between the two of them. And as for other examples of Chinese sarcasm, you've also got like the social issues. So like I was saying before, you know, young people feeling pressure to buy a house. So one time on like this variety show, you had this young like 20-some-year-old who just graduated from university. He started working, and then afterwards he was basically giving this kind of like emotional speech about how young people feel too much pressure to buy houses, especially because in recent years, like, houses are a little bit are definitely really unaffordable, especially for people who just started working and are just like, you know, earning an entry-level wage. So what happened was he was basically describing, you know, the pressures of you know, working long hours, trying to save money to buy a house, and also having to deal with you know, really horrible bosses or really stingy landlords. So he basically made a joke about comparing his landlord to like a penny pincher, a miser. And then the audience obviously kind of understood the reference, so they were laughing. So what he did was he didn't exactly directly use the Chinese word to call his boss, like, you know, a swindler, penny pincher, etc. He used like a different word, but he was indirectly implying that, you know, his landlord is like a thief, penny pincher. He's like trying to scam money off him. So that was kind of like, you know, the sarcastic reference right there. And to give another example, in the Chinese language, well, in standard Mandarin anyways, you'll often hear people say 加油 a lot. So that basically is like used to cheer someone on. It means like, you know, go for it, keep going, go, you know, keep like fighting, that kind of meaning. So 加油 literally means add oil, but when people say it, they don't actually mean to, you know, add oil or add gas. They just mean like, you know, to cheer for someone, to encourage them to keep fighting, to keep going, etc. So one kind of sarcastic reference relating to 加油 is recently online there was this popular short video of this woman who went to a gas station. The staff who was working at the gas station asked her like what kind of gas she wanted to add. So you know how when you go to a gas station you got like 3 different kinds. Usually you got like 92, 95, 98, etc. So she didn't really understand what he meant, like the 92, 95 different types of gas. She just said like, you know, I want to add gas. And then afterwards then the staff member asked her like, you know, 加油. He was doing that as though asking a question, like add gas, and he goes like 是的加油. It's like, you know, yes, add gas. And then afterwards the clerk basically just like goes like 好吧加油. He gives like a thumbs up and he goes like, yeah, 加油. So it's like, you know, trying to encourage her to you know, do it herself, like go add gas. And then she's just like looking at him, is like, what? And then so that was so obviously, like, if you actually understand the reference, is a little bit funnier for people who may not really speak Mandarin, or people who have a really poor command of the language. It would probably sound like really cringy, but basically the reference was that you know, the guy was literally asking her like what kinds of gas she wanted to add, but then she basically seemed to know about that. She just said to like add gas, and then afterwards the guy started being like mischievous and started basically saying okay, 加油, and then he started using it in a way that meant to cheer her, to like encourage her to do what she does, etc. So yeah, basically like that's kind of an example of, you know, Chinese sarcasm right there. And I guess the last example is kind of like something related to a pop culture reference. So if you guys have lived in China for a reasonable amount of time, you know that a lot of young people in their free time, they like to play computer games. So like one of the really popular games that people like to play are, you know, Yingxiong Lianmeng, so League of Legends, or like Overwatch, PUBG, Fortnite, etc. So kind of similar to what a lot of young guys in the West play for PC games, but yeah, in general though, like you see a lot of like internet memes that are related to online gaming, or sometimes when people will watch like, you know, pro players play the game, the commentators will make like random jokes that are related to societal things. So one time, if you play League of Legends, like, you know, you'll know that for example, like, you know, sometimes people can be guilty of feeding, so, you know, intentionally giving the enemy team a free kill and giving them gold experience, etc. So one time there was like a pro match going on, and one of the pro players, he made a mistake where he kind of like went into the enemy team by himself without his own team backing him up. So the enemy team basically just like ganged up on him, they got a free kill, and then the commentators were basically saying 这个人来送外卖了, it's like 你的快递到了. So well, sometimes when people like intentionally give the enemy team a free kill, like the commentator will say, you know, this guy is delivering food, or he's like making a reference to saying your package, like your mail, has arrived. So to explain a little bit more, sometimes when the commentator says 你的外这个人在送外卖, he means this guy is delivering food. So 外卖 is basically like food delivery in Mandarin. And then also sometimes they will say like, oh, whatchamacallit, 你的快递到了. So it means like 快递 is like your package, your mail, your parcel. It's like your parcel has arrived. So you know, they make those kinds of jokes because it's you know, it's pretty normal to see a lot of people using like phone apps to order food in China. Just kind of like, for example, people using DoorDash or like Uber Eats back in Canada and the US and in other Western countries. So in China, like people will use like apps like, for example, Meituan, Meituan food delivery, 饿了么, meaning like are you hungry, and so on. So sometimes like when people make references to food delivery, they'll indirectly say like, oh, 你的美团到了, your Meituan food has arrived, etc. So yeah, just basically like anything that's related to things that are relevant in Chinese society, or things that people are familiar with. That's kind of where Chinese sarcasm comes from. So I hope I gave you guys kind of like a better idea of basically how to understand Chinese sarcasm, and also like what kinds of jokes that people would make. So again, like, you know, if you really do want to understand Chinese sarcasm, if you want to make like sarcastic jokes when you talk in Chinese to other people, at least in Mandarin Chinese, you definitely do need to have a reasonable command of the language. Like you can't just come to China and just like have a very poor for Chinese proficiency and expect to be able to understand the jokes. You definitely do need to be able to carry a conversation with people at least. And also it definitely helps a lot more if you do understand some of like the popular culture stuff that Chinese people are into, which is not really the same as things in the West. So that's kind of like I guess my advice about how to understand Chinese sarcasm and kind of like, you know, how to get into it. So hopefully I did a good job of explaining this topic. You know, let me know if you guys found it interesting or like useful or not, and so on. So again, you know, if you guys liked what I had to say, and if you liked what you got to see, cool. If not, thanks for watching anyway. So see you guys in the next one. Peace.